Hey guys, Nick here. I'm going to go ahead and just state the obvious. This is a marketing tool for my real estate business. I've been a realtor for 20 years right here in Nashville, but who wants to listen to a boring podcast about real estate? Good news, it's not. This is a podcast about people that I've built relationships with since I moved here in 1988. If what I stand for resonates with you and you're looking to buy or sell a home in this area, let's talk. No pressure, just a conversation, kind of like this podcast.
This is the 615 Podcast with your host, veteran realtor and entrepreneur, Nick Woodard.
All right, guys, thanks for coming back and joining us on the 615 Podcast. Today, we welcome my friend Taylor Dooley. Taylor's an American actress most known for her lead role as superhero Lava Girl from the Hollywood movie Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Taylor's a client of mine, has been a good friend for the last couple of years. Her and her family moved here from Franklin from Los Angeles, and we're blessed to have her on here. Thanks for coming, friend.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Another California transplant.
Another, what do we call them?
Whisper it. I don't want to be known as
conservative refugees.
Yeah. That's better. I tell everyone I'm from Michigan when they ask where I moved from, because that's where I was born.
That's safer. Okay.
It's safer than saying California, because then you get a look. I noticed that. It's like, are you one of those?
Well, this conversation is going to be a little bit different than we usually have on here. I wanted to invite Taylor on here to tell her story, shed a little light on the darker side of Hollywood. So talk about whatever you're comfortable with. The last thing I want to do is put you in an uncomfortable situation and discuss some things that, little bit different. And I appreciate you putting your vulnerability and your experiences here. So first and foremost, give us a little bit of background, where you grew up, and how'd you get to Hollywood?
Well, I'm from Michigan originally, but I grew up in Arizona, and I think I was 8 when my dad discovered they were doing some kind of modeling search, and I really loved it, and I wanted to try it. So I did. I fell in love with it, and fast forward, God just kind of worked in a really cool way, and I tried it. It was one of those things where I just tried it, and I ended up loving it, and they loved me equally. I got the very first commercial audition I ever auditioned for. I booked it, and I got to shoot it on my birthday that year, which was really fun. They flew me out to California. It was like they wined and dined my mom and I. It was all very fun. And then they said, my agent at the time said, hey, you should actually go out for theatrical roles. And so I said, okay, that sounds great. So the very first movie I ever auditioned for was The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And it was Robert Rodriguez who had done Spy Kids, and it was his next big movie, and everyone was talking about it. And my mom looked at me because I was a very big girly girl.
That was your first
It was
audition?
my first audition.
Oh, wow.
And my mom looked at me and she said, I just want to put a little bit of reasonable expectations on this, because you are a very big girly girl. Like, you run and you look like a girl. You're not a tomboy. I love you, but you're not a superhero. You know my mom.
Your mom is fantastic. She's one of my favorite people in this world.
She's amazing. And she just tells it like it is. I always joke on her gravestone will be keep it real, because that is just my mom. She will not ever do anything other than keep it real. So she was just like, honey, this is not going to work out for you because you're not superhero material, but I love you and do your best, and it's going to be fun. But it's your first one anyway.
Sure.
So I go in there and they fell in love with me. Robert and I hit it off instantly, and Robert will tell the story that he knew the moment he met me that I was Lava Girl when I smiled, and he was like, that was it.
Which that was a big deal. Like, my daughter Emmy has made me watch that movie 100 times long before I ever knew you.
That's what's funny is parents will always tell me it's either a parent favorite or they hate me because their child made them watch it so many times. They're so sick of it. They're like, I literally don't want to see you anymore. So it was very fun, and it was such a blessing. I ended up booking the role. We were just moving so my mom would drive me from Arizona all the way to California for our auditions, and then drive me back that same day to Arizona. Geez. So it was crazy. And I had finally asked my dad if we could move to California.
So how old were you when you got that role?
I was 11.
Okay.
So I was 11, and my dad, it was just God's timing was so cool, because we found out I booked the role. My dad had already applied for a job in California and got it, and we were already moving to California. So my dad and my brother moved to California. My mom and I went to Texas because that's where Robert films all of his movies. And we filmed in Texas for 4 months, and my dad and brother would come back and forth. And it was such a cool blessing and such an awesome beginning to my story of being in the acting industry, because I mean, as things are coming out more and more now, and other things that I saw as I got older, which I'm sure we'll get into, is Robert was none of that. He was the safest, coolest, and he even was filming reshoots for Sin City during Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and he made such a point to separate everything, make sure everyone was comfortable. There was never anything weird. He was just the sweetest. He still is. We're still friends to this day. We talk all the time, and I just adore him. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about him. And he is he just made my first experience. I had a very high caliber of experience then. So anything after was much lower, because he just ran it just like a family, which is amazing. So I was very blessed for that. And then it was really funny because at the end of the movie, you can kind of tell, I don't know, I can, but I grow during the movie filming. And
how long was the?
It was only 3 or 4 months, but I was at this age where Taylor and I ended up being taller than Taylor, and he's a year older than me. So it was very weird. I grew, and I have an aunt who's 5'10", and so I always thought I was going to be this tall girl, because I was at 13, I was 5'4", and then I never grew again. I was done. But being 13 and 5'4" in the business, they like you to be older and look younger, not younger and look older. So that always worked against me. And it was kind of this really weird thing going into this industry with doe eyes after Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and this like little light of like, oh, this is possible. I got the very first thing I auditioned for.
Confidence is high. Like, I'm going to crush it now.
Exactly. And my mom's always my biggest cheerleader. She was just like, we got this. And then meeting the reality of once you're off the set, and like for even Shark Boy and Lava Girl, it was produced by Miramax. So Harvey Weinstein, and they were all at my movie premiere because they produced my movie. So you start to get, as you get older, more of a picture of what actually goes on in Hollywood, and
kind of see it from the outside.
Yeah.
Now.
And I don't really think, during it, did I sit back and go, oh, this is happening? Not necessarily all the time. There were moments where I was very uncomfortable. And I have, unfortunately, stories that, like, for instance, I remember I'm trying to remember how old I was. I was 15, I think, 15 or 14. And they sent me in to go onto this audition, and this director, it was straight to producers, straight to directors. And this director like came and sat on the couch next to me and put his hand on my leg, and I'm a kid, and he's asking me really weird questions, and I haven't even read. I'm like, can I just read my sides? Because you have to go in and read part of the script. And I'm like, can I just audition? And it was so confusing to me. And I remember leaving and him saying that I was uncooperative and he couldn't work with me at all. And my agency got so mad at me because I walked out, because that's the type of kid, because my mother raised me. So I walked out.
We'll get into some other stuff, but like, it's obvious that you're someone who's going to stand on integrity, and you had that as a young kid. So kind of before we kind of get into the darker side here, what was the experience like having fame as a kid?
That was crazy. It's something they don't prepare you for, because they just, like I said, you make a movie and it's fun and you're a kid, and then all of a sudden the movie comes out, and Taylor and I especially, I got to hide a little more because my hair was pink during the movie. So a lot of people didn't always recognize me as much, but Taylor and I were very best friends. Our families were best friends. His family's from Michigan, so we were very close. And so we hung out all the time. So it was kind of a 2-for-1. Everyone always got to see Shark Boy and Lava Girl together because we were always together. So we would always get recognized when we were together. And it's a very fun, I never had a problem with it. Still to this day, I'll have people DM me on Instagram and say, I saw you, and I was too scared to say hi. I'm like, come say hi. It's so cool for me. We're at Disney for my mom and daughter's birthday, and I got to run into some people, and it was so fun. It's so awesome to see how people love the movie. But as a kid, it's this very weird, it's hard to describe, because you're trapped. It's almost like a bubble. You live in this little bubble, and everyone in Hollywood knows who you are. And then people start calling and you feel really good about yourself, but it's just this like little tiny bubble. And once you're kind of that thing's over and the next thing comes out, you're kind of just tossed aside. And then you're 12 years old.
Yeah.
Facing a lot of rejection that you wouldn't get just being in school and being a kid. And
That's
facing a lot of grown-up problems
right off the bat, and then now you're experiencing the rejection side.
And so it's kind of just a lot, because you get so many more no's than you ever get yeses, and then there's always reasons attached, like, you were too tall, you were too short, you're too pretty, you're not cute enough, there's just all these reasons, and you hear them about yourself at 12, 13, 14 years old, and you're just like, so I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And like, there's this whole big thing that I think also is really what contributes to that, what you see happen to a lot of the child stars and child actors as they grow into adults. It's this, you get this kind of like crave that the business kind of almost trains you to like crave someone's like, you tell me I'm enough. I can't be it without myself. Like, you have to tell me I am. Am I good? Am I good?
Right.
Like, you just
well, like, so let's get into that a little bit. You experienced some traumatic things in Hollywood as a child actor. Are we talking kind of mental stuff? I know I read an interview that you dealt with a lot of gaslighting, maybe some eating disorders, that type thing. So, tell us a little bit behind the scenes of some of the stuff that actually goes on that maybe the average person doesn't know about. Yeah,
a lot of what happens in the kids' realm, especially because that's what I was in a lot of, is they use your parents as a way to kind of keep you in check. I'm trying to think of the right word to say. So my parents are amazing, and they did such a good job. And the only reason why I am a halfway normal individual is because my parents did such a wonderful job. But it's hard to navigate when you're two people from Michigan who wanted nothing to do with the business. Right. And now your daughter suddenly falls in love with it, and you fast forward, and it's
like your dad. He's like me.
Yeah.
He's like,
he didn't know what to do with it.
I don't know if I like this.
Yeah. And my dad was always like, can we be done? Let's just be done. Every time I'd cry because I didn't get a role, he'd be like, so we're done now. Yep. And I'd be like, no, I'm not done. And my mom would have to sit and explain to him. So he was but then because being a dad and knowing his daughter wanted this, my agent would call. And I remember one specific time she was like, so, she's starting to look older, and because she's so young still, we need her to look younger. So if there's any way you guys could like maybe have her stop eating, so that she could get skinnier, so that like puberty doesn't hit and her boobs don't come in, and they literally, and so then my dad's like trying to tiptoe around going like, okay, how bad do you want this? Because I don't want something bad to happen to you, but like, this is what they're asking for.
I've got two young daughters. Like, that's the worst possible thing you can do for a young girl.
My brain is already going there because you're 15. I remember I grew out of my 00 jeans and I had a meltdown because I was a teenager, and this is what happens. But that's what they kind of do, and then they do it in such a nice way. They're like, we're not intruding. We're just trying to say like, maybe try to do this. So that ended up being, and my parents are always been very, very forward with me. They're like, this is what they said. We're not going to do it, but this is what's my mom's never hidden anything from me. Neither has my dad.
So imagine those kids who don't have parents like that.
Right. Or parents and I have friends who grew up in the business with me that their parents were getting told the same thing. And so it was collectively, we're all like out to dinner, 14 years old. And it's like, oh, honey, yep, nope, you can't, you have to eat the salad, honey. Oh, wow. And so then I'm sitting there like, well, my parents said I could eat the cheeseburger, but I guess I'll take a salad too. And I won't do the cheeseburger. And it's just this really weird emotional dynamic and so I developed an eating disorder because I would just then, I've never been good at doing anything other than just restricting myself. I couldn't throw up or do any of that stuff. And I liked food too much to completely stop eating, but I just really went heavy on counting calories, restricting myself. And I'm 14 years old trying to grow.
As a kid.
And my mom, you know, she don't play. So she put me into therapy. She got me a nutritionalist. She's like, you're going to get over this.
Yeah.
And it developed this weird thing in my brain where I would just look at myself in the mirror and pick myself apart and go, and it was always about, they're going to see me as this in the acting industry. I need to be as skinny as, coupled with, I'm in my 30s. So this was when the whole, you know, it's Paris Hilton, and everyone was super skinny. Like that was the thing to be. It was like all over the tabloids. It was
super
like so-and-so gained
attractive.
Weight.
I don't think at all.
Yeah. Well, nowadays we're getting into a little bit of a healthier space where people are praised for looking healthier, but back then it was horrible. And then we're kids on top of it. And then you've got teenage hormones on top of it. So it's a lot. And that's just my experience, one little experience with all of that. I had friends that did have like full blown, very, very bad eating disorders and very, very bad things that they would feel, because then they start getting you into parties.
They look the opposite way.
Oh yeah. And they encourage it. And then they kind of get you into, everyone starts throwing parties, and that's something that happens when you're like 15. And so you're going to parties and your mom's dropping you off, and it happens it happens everywhere.
Sure.
But they're Hollywood parties.
Yeah. With
Hollywood kids with a lot of money to do a lot of stupid things.
Yeah.
And you're the little girl, because for me, I was younger than all my friends. All of my friends in the business were all older. I knew Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens. Like I knew all of them, but they were all older than me. So my mom would drop me off at these parties and she'd be like, I'm literally right around the corner. So if you need me, call me. But she didn't want me to be like the silly 15-year-old with like my mom in tow.
So you're seeing some stuff.
So you go in very unprepared, very unprepared. And it's all very like, this is cool. This is what everyone's doing because everyone has money to blow. And it's just it's this very weird dynamic that you don't have in the backwoods of Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know, it's just this very weird Hollywood that funnels into, you know, oh, we're going to a party at so-and-so's house that's got the really famous dad. And then you're excited because you're like, Mom, I have to go because his dad's famous. And maybe if I meet him, he could put me in a movie. And everyone's always positioning themselves.
There's strategy to everything.
Yes. And it's just such a weird thing to do when you're a kid.
I'd read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd read somewhere you once said the devil has a firm grip on Hollywood and the entertainment industry, especially seeing the darkness involving kids and young actors.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So like how deep is that? Is it just a manipulative mind game or is this a deeper level?
I personally haven't seen anything that is or witnessed or experienced anything. So just to throw that out there, for me personally, I had a very pleasant, for the most part, experience, peppered in with some very odd experiences like the casting couch and people doing things like that, or Hollywood parties. But for me, the majority of my experience, I was very protected. And I feel like the Lord really, really protected us and gave me the best mom to be able to handle it. Cause my mom did not play. She wouldn't let me. They would usher me into rooms and be like, oh, excuse me. I remember being 12. They wanted to make a whole Disney show for me. And they were like, you can't come in the room to my mom. And they wanted me in this whole room with all these executives in suits. And they tried to usher me into the room without my mom. And she was like, no, that's not happening. So I got protected because I had my mom, who was amazing, but a lot of kids didn't. And they're not necessarily my stories to tell, but there are stories that I know from friends of kids who go to producers' houses, all of that stuff that you hear, and they come back and they've had horrible, horrific experiences to be able to get a role at 14, 15, 16, 17. All of those are true. It's 100% true. It's happened to friends of mine. I was
going to ask you that, like, have you personally seen people that started out as child actors that their life was wrecked?
Yeah, 100%. I have friends who are never the same after, and we can pinpoint and we can sit down and talk for hours, and they were never the same after going to different directors' houses who promised them roles in huge movies. And sometimes they never even came to fruition. It's just you screwed with this poor child. And then they kind of get, one of my friends got really, really messed up. And so then he was damaged goods. So now no one will hire him anymore because he kind of was too damaged from the whole situation. And so it's really sad. It's heartbreaking. And people do take advantage of kids a lot in the industry.
So are we talking, and again, you said you didn't fully experience it to that level, but are we talking mainly manipulation, or does it go as far as sexual abuse, blackmail, grooming?
Sexual abuse and grooming. And yes, 100%. Like I said, it didn't happen to me, thank goodness. And my heart breaks but I know firsthand experiences that I've heard from friends that came back and were my best of friends and said, oh my gosh, this happened. And what's sad is a lot of the times, 9 times out of 10, the people dropping them off are their parents. Mm-hmm. And half the time they don't know. Sometimes they do. And that's why you get the stage parent dynamic where they'll do just about anything to get their kid famous. And some of them know, or some of them just don't want to know, but know that something happened, and others don't. And it's not, like I said, it doesn't happen across the board, right? Because it didn't happen to me. I was never, but it's there. It's something that happens. And I believe that even if you watched or if you heard about the documentary Quiet on the Set with Nickelodeon. So I was never personally on the show, but my very best friends were on Zoe 101. So I knew everything that came out in that documentary. I was on the set. My very best friend was Victoria Justice, who was on the show. And I was there every weekend. They filmed in where I was living at the time was Santa Clarita. And so they filmed. So I knew Dan. I knew Dan Schneider. He's on the set every day. I knew him. I saw him. My mom was actually a guardian for most of the kids because we lived right there. So if the parents had to go do something, my mom would go be the guardian for the kids for the day. And she'd be like, hey, want to go hang out on set with your friends? And be like, yeah. So we were there a lot, and it's very sad, but everything in that documentary was true. And one of my good friends, Alexa Nichols, who was on the show, she has been trying to advocate for, someone to do something about it, because just a documentary comes out and people just go, okay.
Just watch it. Okay.
Yeah, he's still working. Dan still works. Like if you watched it, I'm forgetting his name right now. I'm blanking on his name, but the man who actually was convicted of, I believe it was raping Drake Bell. He's out. He works on set. He got out and then went on another set for Nickelodeon. Jeez. They hired him again after knowing what happened. So it's just these patterns repeat because there's just absolutely no. And when you kind of know that now, stepping back as an adult, being in it as a kid, you see it and it's scary and it's real. And my mom tried to actively make sure that I avoided it.
Was it Brian Peck or Jason Handy?
Brian Peck, I believe.
Brian Peck?
Yep.
There you go.
And so that you kind of just actively try to avoid it. And my mom did a really good job shielding me. But then once you're an adult, you can look back and go, okay, and I don't mean to be rude to, Hollywood execs because, but
I mean, you're just calling balls and strikes.
It's the thing is if you hire Dan and you continue to hire Dan and kids complain and adults complain and parents complain, and then you hire Brian and then he goes to jail and then you hire him again, you're kind of now the problem, aren't you? Yeah. Like when we can be adults and we can all have a real conversation. And this is something that you can't do usually in Hollywood. Like, let's just all put our heads together and think about this for a second. Aren't you kind of complicit? So then that's when you can get into the broader conspiracy of, well, do the networks know? Well, I don't know.
So the things like we all know about, like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff, there's truth behind that.
Oh, 100%.
And are there others behind the scene that maybe we don't know, that don't have big names, that this is going on?
Oh, 100%. And there's one of my first agents. He was convicted. I want to say, I'm trying to remember who it was, but he was at a huge agency, and same thing. He was a huge agent for little boys, and I happened to be one of the only girls he had when I was a child. And then actually he re-represented me when I was an adult because we were friends throughout the years, and I sat down, and I've always been loving the Lord. I was like, okay, tell me what happened. And like, let's just see your humanity through it. And I can forgive you if we can talk through it. But he same thing. He's an agent, took advantage of a child in a situation at a party at his house who was a child. He ended up getting off out of all of it. I believe I don't think he did any actual real jail time. He lost his job. And then he started his own company.
So
and then he's back to being an agent.
what's their motivation behind doing this to kids? Like there's got to be, quote unquote, an upside that they're trying to use this manipulation. Is it just, hey, I've got you, I have this on you, so I can use that to be your representation, or what? Like, what's the reasoning behind it? Is it just a power play?
I honestly, from what I've seen,
I'm trying to think of
it's
it like on a
of
psychological level.
It's control. A lot of it is so that they can have control over you, because a lot of the things that, even the small instances that happened to me, like even the director coming and putting his hand on my leg and saying things very inappropriate, then the next words out of their mouth when I started getting a little bit like, okay, this is weird, was, no one's going to believe you. You're hard to work with. I'm going to let your agency know. If you don't stay sitting here,
if you don't do what I
I'm
tell you
gonna
to
let
do,
your agency
you're not gonna have the
know
shot.
that you're hard to work with. And me being me was like, go ahead. But I lost my representation after that, because they said that he was this big shot director, and they were like, you pissed him off. And he said, you're never going to work in this business. Jeez. It happens to you enough. And I never worked again.
Yeah.
It was very, and so it came to a point where I got it as an adult, and I was like, man, all those people that would tell me, like Disney, when I told them no, they said, you'll never work again. And then my agents came back and said, you do know Disney will blacklist Taylor. And I said, I don't care. I was so uncomfortable. I will tell the whole world what happened to me. And they were like, no, that's fine. You're just going to be blacklisted. It was funny, because now I can look back on it and go, oh, that was real. I just was like, oh, threats, that's fun.
Right.
But they use it as to exert control. And then they have control over, if you want to get into the bigger picture, look, then they have control over what do celebrities do? They talk about politics. They talk about the environment. They talk about, they really shape what we believe on the news and what goes on, and what they shape them. So why wouldn't you want control over what they're saying?
And if I start out early,
then I can just keep gaining that control, and we can control it.
Jeez. Well, I wanted to ask you this. I don't know if you've ever been asked this, but so as a mother yourself, and a damn good one, you're a fantastic mother. After having seen the things you saw, if your kids wanted to act, what would you say? And is there a safe path for that? And if you did allow it, what safeguards would you put in place that someone without your experience may not think of?
That's a good question. What's really funny is we're kind of coming to that crossroads, because both my kids really want to be an actor.
Oh, Lord.
The good news is they like other things, and I've gotten them kind of out of it, but they both very much they love it. And honestly, my personal opinion is, if you love it and it's something you love, be a kid.
Yeah.
Have fun being a kid. Enjoy your life. There are ways in which I love what I do. I love acting. I always say, I don't know why God put it on my heart, but he did. And I love it and I miss it. But if I could go back in time, I would never not do Shark Boy and Lava Girl and all those things, because I loved it so much. But I didn't have a childhood traditionally.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go meet my friends at the mall and I didn't get any of the childhood things. I had to be an adult by the time I was 10. And I didn't know what I was giving up at the time, because I loved it so much. So as someone who's been through it, I would say, if your kid loves it, or if you love it, just pause and stay in love with it. Join a local theater group, do theater. There's so many more options these days. Take acting classes, do it, love it, hone your craft. And then when you're 18, hit the ground running and try to do it if it's something that you really love. But at least you'll have your footing of being able to say, I was a kid. I lived my life. I had experiences. I will tell you one funny thing that they would always say to me, even being a child actor then, was they call it green. She's green. And they used to tell me she needs to go get life experience. And I'd be like, well, I grew up in this business. So no, I don't know what it's like to go do these kid things, because I've never been allowed to do them, because we don't do these things. And so it's funny, but that's what they want. And being a kid actor is very fun. It was very fun, but it's not without having to be protective. And so, not that it's much better when you're 18, because they do things with adults. We see that with Harvey Weinstein. But you have much more solid ground if you were able to grow up and not have to deal with the rejections that come with the business and all that. You'll be really solid in who you are, And so then you can take that light and be you in whatever way you can get into Hollywood, or however you want to do that, or whatever way you want to act. So that, my opinion, and for my kids, I'm always like, let's wait until you're 18.
Right.
Unless, of course, Robert ever had anything, because I know he's safe. So
again,
and he's
it's
the
all about
sweetest person
you
in
have
the
the
whole world.
experience of knowing who you can trust and who you can't.
And if your kid is dying for it and you absolutely want them to, then that's an awesome thing. I'd be the most present parent in the entire world. Don't leave them alone. Not even with people that you think are amazing, because there's the amount of people in the industry. It's really bizarre. And I'd love to try to find a statistic on it, but the amount of people that end up being close to the kids in the industry, from acting coaches to producers, casting directors, who actually end up getting convicted or being accused of sexual abuse of minors or inappropriate things, it's crazy. It's probably because that's where kids are.
Culture of it.
When you think about it, it's one of the only businesses. So you wonder why acting? It's one of the only places that if your kid plays baseball, you're there. They're not in an enclosed room one-on-one with another adult. They're with a team. They're outside. You're there watching, or mom's there, or whatever. There's always people around. People are rarely left alone. In acting, it is just blind. What you do is you get an audition. If you're a kid actor, your mom or dad, whoever's doing it, will say, here's your side, study them. And if you go to an acting coach, then you go to an acting coach, but your parents aren't allowed in. That is never allowed. It is not allowed. Then you're called a stage parent if you try to go in. So now you're in a room with a person that you don't know, who you just hired to coach your kid, and they're alone for an hour with your kid in a room behind a closed door, alone, which is not something we do normally.
No.
Then you go to the audition, and now you're in a room full of, maybe if it's a first call, there could be 2 to 3 adults in the room. If it just depends on each thing, so now you're leaving your kid and you have to stay in the waiting room. And so now you're leaving your kid to go again, let them go in a room with complete strangers. Maybe the acting coach you vetted, but you don't know the producers.
Sure.
You don't know the producer. Sometimes casting directors hire assistants, and they're just random people that they hire to, help them out and read sides. And we don't know these people. No one vets these people. And you're not allowed to go sit in the room and just say, hey, I'm going to sit right here while my daughter auditions. Then you're a stage parent and they never let you back in. So you say bye to your kids. So it's one of the only
So they've built
things.
a machine with checks and balances
So if you're a predator,
doing what they want to do.
Exactly. So if you're a predator, where are you going to go? You're not going to go to the soccer center. You're going to go be someone in the acting industry, because you can be alone with kids in many different ways. So, and again, that's not to say everyone is. I met some wonderful people and some people that I'm still very good friends with, but it is,
It's
highly
ripe for opportunity.
Exactly. It's one of the only ones you do that with, which is why there's a lot of people pushing and advocating for more safer parameters around children in the business and in the industry. Because a lot of us, I have a friend, Allison Stoner, who was in the Disney whole thing, and she's the same way. She's really advocating for people to just actually give the kids a voice and give parents a way to protect their kids, because it's highly just, even agencies, you meet them, you go to meet for an agency meeting, and they take you back and they give you a whole tour. Then your mom has to sit in the waiting room and you go back to meet all the agents. You get to go back to an agent. It's just, you're a tiny adult. You're trusted with adult things. And then it's scary to think that someone would take advantage of you, because you're just a doe-eyed, trusting little kid. Like, okay, mommy, I'll be right back.
Trying to make it.
But we don't even do that at the doctor's office. You don't let the doctor walk away with your kid.
Of course not.
So there's a lot of, when you wonder why Hollywood, there's a lot of people left alone. And then that translates into adulthood. Then you go to meetings and, you have auditions that the director's in from out of town. So the audition is in a hotel room. And if you don't go, you're seen as someone who your agency will look at you and go, well, that's inappropriate. No, everyone's fine. You're making such a big deal out of it. Why are you so ridiculous? This is ridiculous. Just go. So then you go, and now you're in a hotel room with a random stranger. So it's ripe for all of those situations for people to exert control and take advantage of it. So it's just, if you're going to be in it, there's many wonderful people in Hollywood who would never take advantage of people. And it's just to be on your game. You got to be smart.
Thank God that you and your mother and your family, you just, maybe it has to do with your connection with the Holy Spirit, but your intuition,
Oh yeah.
especially your mother's, of no, you
Yep.
just it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it too, is there's so many people who are, especially child actors, they're always someone in the business.
Mm-hmm.
They're their kids, so that's what they grew up with. For my mom, she's from Detroit. Like she's literally from Detroit.
She don't
Both
play.
my parents are. So we're not from like the nice area. We're from Detroit. So my mom and dad, they both don't play. So they are just the type of people that when they saw the industry, there was just so many things. My mom was like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. But people are groomed to think that that's okay. And as adults, there are moments my mom has looked back on me where people that I was connected with got charged with sexual abuse. And my mom had to sit me down and go, I need you to be honest with me, because I did leave you alone with them because it's the only option I had. Nothing happened, right? And there's moments that I've had to have that happen more than once. And then I have to sit there and go, do I have some kind of repressed memory? No, I think I'm okay. I think I'm good. Was there anything weird that happened? And you have to do this whole checks and balance game in your brain to say,
Unpack
okay,
your own stuff.
I think I'm good. I think nothing happened. I think I'm fine.
Well, kind of moving on to another topic. You've openly spoken about being a conservative and a Christian, to which you got massive backlash. I think I read somewhere that you were dropped by your agent and your manager for being outspoken about your beliefs. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was it was kind of funny because we love to live in a place where everyone says that free speech and you can believe what you want to believe. But yeah, when it comes to Hollywood, you very much have to play a very fine line and a very big game. Like I know many people who believe the same way as we do.
That's
one thing
I was going to ask you.
They don't
How
say
many
it.
people are closet
There's
conservatives?
many of them. And the problem is what happens to people like me when you speak out is that you get the minute I said, I think originally what it came down to was when Roe versus Wade got overturned. And I was excited about it because being a Christian, and we have our own family history with my brother was a twin born prematurely at 23 weeks, which is people have abortions at that time. So my mom got to hold her 23-week-old baby that they wouldn't save because they deemed him unsavable at that age. The cutoff has since changed, but this is back in 1995. And so seeing life at that age that came out of that wasn't something that necessarily I feel like you should just be able to be like, well, at this point now, that's done, because my family has seen it. I have pictures of my brother. He was alive. He lived for a while. He lived for a few hours, and it's just something that's really near and dear to my heart. And so for me personally, now I don't think you're the devil if you decide it. I just think we are all allowed to believe how we want to believe. So I was personally happy because I like babies, and I just think we should just find a way to make everyone happy. And I got incredible backlash, like the worst. I had people writing on my post which I posted it for everyone to see. So I knew what I was getting into. Yeah. But isn't it funny that you don't usually get it the other way, but when you're coming out to say yay for babies, and now yay for babies and yay for states to have their own opinions now. Sure. It's not like your rights are being completely taken away. It's just states, it's going back to the state level. So let's understand that. It's not going away. But I had people writing me saying that they hoped my daughter gets raped.
My God.
And my daughter at the time was 5. So it's the amount of hatred that comes with just a different belief. Instead of saying like, hey, maybe what is your life experience that you have that? Because I have a story that not many people have, but it doesn't mean that your story might be different. It might have saved your life having an abortion. I don't know. I can be sympathetic. I don't have to say it's my way or the highway, but let's not maybe wish that my daughter gets raped. Like, that's just like, I draw lines there. Let's just not do that. But if I could tell you the amount of people who were so evil to me over just doing that. And then my agents and managers called and said, yeah, that, that's not a good look for you. So we're going to have to just let you go.
Jeez. Was it just because they knew the backlash that they would, having their client, they're like, now I can't get you in stuff.
Yeah, it was all over the news that Lava Girl ruined people's childhood memories because she came out as a conservative Christian. And so it was on, my dad sent me, it was the front page of Yahoo News.
Oh my gosh.
That Lava Girl ruined everyone's childhoods. And I was like, okay, cool. I guess I ruined everyone's childhoods.
So why does
Equally though, there was a lot of people who came out and said, you were so brave for saying something. And we're really appreciative that you would speak out in this, because we're in this weird climate where you can't believe different than the system, which is so crazy because we've always been a two-party system and there's always been two sides. So why do we hate the other one? We've not done this for years. Why are we all of a sudden the last 10 years like, let's hate each other over our differences?
And something like that is not necessarily left and right either.
Yeah.
It's just you feel a certain way about a certain topic. And so if someone else doesn't feel that same way, all of a sudden they're, excuse me, trying to destroy you.
Yes, exactly.
So
And
I've always wondered, why does Hollywood hate conservatism so much? I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either fully. There's a lot of people, there's a resurgence of people who are starting to make their own movies and starting to do their own things independently because they don't want to play the game. And I've noticed that, I think everyone's noticed that even Disney took a huge hit from trying to just push boundaries that the common person doesn't want pushed on them. And so I think that there is this level of Hollywood that's realized that they can't go as crazy as they've been before. But it's still a thing that happens all the time. And it's just, I can take guesses, but I don't know why they have such a big deal with let's segregate people and separate it into like, now you're a conservative, so now I can't be your agent because if you would have just not posted that, Taylor, I'm like, but that's like, it's my heart and it's what I think. And it doesn't mean I didn't say in there, I didn't say the opposite, that if you believe different than me, then I hate you. I just said, I'm happy and this is exciting and it's a good day for God and people who love God. Woohoo. Like,
it's like I've got friends that are, high up in whether it be the music industry or, entertainment or whatever that have conservative beliefs and values that would never say anything because they know that they will get blacklisted, canceled, have struggles that other people wouldn't have because of their beliefs and they're afraid to say anything.
Yeah.
So you believe there is a group of people that are out there that are strong conservatives that are just afraid to say something.
Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of people out there. I would venture to say there's a lot more than you would actually think there are that believe the same way. That
for those of you listening, I like Jesus, Trump, Nick Saban, and Bear Bryant. So cancel away.
It's so funny how people, oh my gosh, it's so funny. And then around election season, everyone was like, can you announce that you voted for who you voted for so we know whether we can like you or not?
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I'm not going to play your silly game. Yeah. I don't, if you follow me, you know my values and I'm not, you can guess away, but I'm not going to play this stupid, like, hi, I'm Taylor Swift. I'm going to bake cupcakes for some, like, I'm not going to play your guys' game. I just am not. I'm not on either side. Let's just not do that. Maybe let's just let everyone decide for themselves.
You be you. And, if you feel like speaking about it, great. But, I'm not going to hate you because you think differently than I do.
I have many a friend that don't believe the same way I do. And we get along great. I feel like that's the thing that the news wants to tell you and Hollywood wants to tell you is they pump out this, everyone hates, you should hate someone if they don't believe the same way. And my personal opinion is actually Americans are really cool. And most of us that I've met, there's not many people that I've met that are that extreme. It's usually the internet trolls and some people in Hollywood. There are definitely some people, but there are people that are very, very firm on their views and they know, because I've posted about it, my views. And we're still friendly and we still follow each other on Instagram. We'll still we just don't talk about politics. We just talk about other things like the weather and how my kids are and how things are going. And we can be friends still and have different values and different opinions. That's what makes America so cool is that we're free to choose.
Absolutely.
So that's what's so crazy to me is that it's such a big deal that I can get a call from my agent and manager and they're like, yeah, we're dropping you. And to this day, I don't have an agent or a manager because I couldn't get anyone to call me back.
Well, I was going to ask you, so what are you doing these days? Like what is your vision and dream for what you want to get into next?
Right now I'm a mom and I'm being,
like I said,
a
great one, fantastic one.
And I'm homeschooling. I homeschool both my kids. I love it. They love it. We hopefully the Lord blesses us. We'd like more kids. But aside from being mom and homeschooling mom, I love acting, and it's something I really love. And I'd love to get to a space where I've been preparing to try to maybe even produce my own movies and do my own things and be able to try to, be a part of this kind of new resurgence of good movies without necessarily any sort of, I'd love to make I miss rom-coms.
Yeah.
I miss them.
Not gonna lie, I kind of like them too.
They're
I kind of like them too.
And I miss them. And I'd love to just be a part of this new, like, let's not put an agenda on a movie. Let's just go to a movie and see a good story and leave feeling
just
changed
entertain me
in some way.
Let's
Exactly.
let's get entertained.
Exactly. So that's kind of my heart
What are you
is
saying, Jim?
just, that's just my heart is just to be able to eventually make or find partners and partner with people. I have some friends that we're looking to do some stuff together. And just kind of make things that are more, not a side, like just like something that everyone can watch and everyone can enjoy and everyone can just be entertained with. And that's what I'd like to do. And so I've kind of not found tons of it. So I kind of am like, well, maybe I'm going to do it myself. I don't know.
There you go.
I've been feeling God's just like, hey, maybe you're going to do it yourself. So I don't know. I've just been seeing a lot of it. We are supposed to do another Weekend Be Heroes 2, which is the Shark Boy and Lava Girl sequel that we did for Netflix. Which was awesome. So at some point we are supposed to do that potentially.
Okay.
The strike and everything pushed it back a lot. But like I said, I still talk to Robert a lot and we're supposed to still do one. So that'll be fun if I get to do that.
Well, a couple of years ago, you reached out to me on Instagram asking if I could help you and your family come to Nashville and find a home. Like, why Nashville? What was your reasoning for wanting to come here? Okay,
so this is funny because I'd never been to Nashville. I'd never even been to Tennessee. It's really weird. It's a very big God thing. But I woke up one morning, and I'm not even joking, and my heart was like, we need to move to Tennessee. It was this very weird, I'd never been here before. I don't know why I felt like this weird calling, like I need to go to Tennessee. I didn't know anyone who lived in Tennessee. I didn't know anything about Tennessee. I just was like, I feel like we need to go to Tennessee. And I gently mentioned it to my husband, and he, being in the music industry, was like, I love Nashville. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe, I don't know. This is weird. Maybe let's see. We'll see what God has in store. And so I just kind of looked around and found you, and I don't remember how. And I was like, hey, let's be friends because I feel like God's calling us somewhere out here, and you seem really cool.
So we got to know each other and stuff. And I'm like, is that freaking Lava Girl?
Like, why is Lava Girl talking? I just started kind of preparing away and just kind of really believing that something might happen and not knowing. And it ended up just working out where it was something I forgot about, I'm going to be honest. And we just went on and lived our life. And the thing is California, living in California and raising kids in California is a very tough environment right now. It's always been tough, but it's even tougher now. And it's a whole slew of reasons. Even the homeschooling life out there is hard to do. It's not family oriented as it was 20 years ago when my parents first moved there with me for acting. And we moved there for a purpose. It was to get me into acting. Once COVID hit, you don't have to be in California anymore to be an actor. So there's also that. And it's gotten hard. The crime has risen, and I don't mean that in a like trying to run for politics. I just mean like it's just living there, being in it. It's gotten bad. I grew up in Santa Clarita is where we lived, and it went from being, they called it Awesome Town as I was growing up, and I remember being a teenager like, this is stupid, but it's not awesome. And it was awesome. It was a great place to raise your family just outside of LA. It was wonderful. There, you could drop me off at the mall and I was safe. And, it got to the point where I was going to the Target with my kids and people were following me out the door, trying to grab my cart or my kids. So it got to the point where my parents were like, you're never going to the Target by yourself. So it just got bad. It's not the California that I used to know and love. And the weather's fantastic. It's gorgeous, but and then the people, that's the one thing I love about being here is the people. I was going to ask, you've been here for a while now. Nice. So what do you love about living here? Well, funny enough, I love the weather. I love that there is weather. Yeah. California has no weather. I thought that I'd hate it, but I love the weather. I love that there is weather. I actually don't hate the tornado warnings and stuff. I thought that I would.
I remember you asking me about that. I have all of my clients coming from out of town freak out about tornadoes.
So we had
and I'm
the
like,
very
guys, I
first
get
one.
it. Be concerned, be aware, but
what's nice is you
you're
can
gonna be
prepare
okay.
for them
Yes, you can
because
prepare for
an
them.
earthquake you cannot prepare for, and you do not know when they're going to hit or what they're going to be like. Same thing with fires. You just get hit with, hey, there's a fire up the road. You have to evacuate. And it's very scary and it's a lot. And
didn't the house you sold come very close?
yes, it came
to the
very
fires?
close to being, it was evacuated at one point. Right after we moved in October, those fires, I think were in January.
Yeah.
And so we got very blessed to get out of there, but it's just, it's crazy out there. It's the insurance out there is insane on everyone I know who has houses are like, we can't afford our house anymore because we're not even on the mountain, but they're charging us an arm and a leg for homeowners insurance because of fires. It's very crazy.
I just need to hire you to be the spokesman or the spokesperson for get out of California, come to
Get out of
Nashville,
California.
just like everybody else.
No, dude. I mean, I don't mean to say this because now I'm here, but we don't want everyone coming.
You want us now.
I'm one of you now, so I have to say it. But like, do we want everyone moving here?
Do you feel that it's freer where you can be yourself?
Yes.
And have your beliefs and be respected for your beliefs?
Yeah, I very much feel like I feel it's very inclusive. It's not like you have to be one way. I feel like people are just so nice here. In California, people will say, how are you? And what they really mean is, what have you been doing lately? And how can you help me? Because everyone's in the industry and everyone's knows somebody. And it's very dog eat dog and people are very fake. And out here, I will sit and have a 10-minute conversation with the lady at Kroger. And it's so sweet. And I leave and I'm like, oh my God, she's so sweet. Because people are just nice here. It's back. Remembering I'm from Michigan. So we used to visit. I mean, we visit all the time. It's so nice to be close to home. And all my family lives there. So whenever I go home, I'd be like, people are just nice outside of California. I don't know how else to say it.
I've got to know your whole family, and you're all amazing people with huge hearts, and just you do. Your entire family does have a search for the truth, and I admire that. Like you got a great.
We're pretty lucky.
Family, great parents.
Yeah,
so,
they're awesome.
Especially someone that helped navigate you through some of the things you experienced as a kid.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I feel like we're in the season of peace. And I feel like if there's one way I could actually describe Tennessee, it is so peaceful here. It really is. And I don't know if that's just our experience, but for me, it's so peaceful. It really is. Ever driving and just seeing how gorgeous it is. There's sometimes, but there's rarely road rage. There's rarely it's just, people are just genuinely nicer, and it's just a beautiful place to live and raise your kids. And there's kids on the street playing.
Yeah.
I can't get over how cool it is to actually see kids outside, and that is encouraged. And people are in California, no one's outside.
Oh, wow.
It's weird. No one plays outside. They'll do sports and stuff, but it's all about like my kids in this competitive cheer. And it's very,
oh God, don't get me going on competitive cheer.
I know I'm not there yet. My kids are still only 8 and 6. So I'm not in any of those
Emmy,
scenes
if you're
yet.
listening, I love it. I love everything about competitive cheer.
But everything is about
my wallet
that.
doesn't, but
yeah. Oh gosh, I can't imagine. Oh dear. I'm very excited for my kids to hopefully not want to do that. Like, it gets expensive, but.
Well, friend, so glad you came on. Thank you for being vulnerable. And, I know you've been through a lot in your life. And as we wrap this up, I'd like to pray for you.
Oh.
So, Heavenly Father, I pray for my friend Taylor. I pray that you release her of any trauma that she has encountered in her life. Ask that you surround her and her family with a hedge of protection. Please give her the strength to fend off attacks from the enemy and his dark forces, and bless her with abundance and favor. Whatever she does going forward, I pray that you bless it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Well, thanks, friend. This was fun.
This was so much fun.
So, we always want to send you with a parting gift. So here's your own 615.
I
ball
get a
cap.
615.
So
I always
you're
see you, and you always have one on.
officially
So
one
I
of us
have
now.
one. I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
So give your family my best. I love all y'all.
Oh, we love you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
See you guys.